If you realize that you're being suppressed or people trying to like control the narrative of your career is your career and you should control that narrative. You should try things. You should be allowed to fail. You should be allowed to do all of these different things. Nobody should dictate to you how you run your career and what that looks like. So you got to run your race at the end of the day. And if that race leads you to another company, go for it.
What's up? Welcome to the You Know's Best Pod. I appreciate your support. In return, I hope I provide you with some worthwhile gems that benefit you on your journey. At the very least, I hope I put a smile on your face. If not, hopefully you share this with someone that does benefit. And I got you next time. Again, thanks for joining today, and let's get this thing going.
All right, welcome to another episode of the Hube Knows Best Pod. I want to give you the truth, the whole truth, well, as best I can. So help me God. I got the homie Wiz, the Angel of Wisdom, on the podcast today. It's Thanksgiving after. Day of Thanksgiving, but we in Chicago. He came to see his family and spend time, and decided to grace us with his presence. So I appreciate you coming through, bro.
No doubt, bro. No doubt.
Don't matter. Backstory. Wiz, you are Jamaican.
Yeah.
You were born in Jamaica.
Yeah.
All right. Grew up a little bit in Jersey.
Yep.
Then came to Chicago.
Well, no. Back up.
Okay.
So it's Jamaica, New York.
Okay.
Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, to be exact.
Okay, Bed-Stuy.
In the 90s. So, that joint was crazy.
Oh,
and then Jersey.
Okay.
Then Chicago.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You like cold places, clearly.
My parents like cold places.
Yeah, that's always interesting when I meet people that are like West Indian or Latin. I'm like, wow. And they're not from like Peru or some shit.
Yeah.
I'm like, why in the world did you move somewhere cold of all places?
Well, when you immigrate into the States, bro, you're going to move to where you got family at and where people done did it already, right? Like where people pretty much started where you started.
Yeah.
Exactly. And New York ain't nothing but little Jamaica. So we had family there. We stayed with family for a little bit. And then, eventually branched off, got our own spots and everybody working and everybody staying in the same apartment. So we was all in the same little studio apartments. Like my mom, two of her homegirls and me. And we had this, never mind. I ain't gonna tell y'all that part of the story, but basically that's how we started out. And then we kind of branched out from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, humble beginnings.
Yeah, bro.
You are today,
real humble.
Right. Okay. So you do all that. You grow up in Chicago, like you finish high school in Chicago.
Yep.
And you go to Purdue.
Yep.
So this is how I know Marty. I met Marty like her first week and she was on Wiz's couch. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Cause she had just moved there and was waiting on her place. But how was that experience? Cause I know Marty's perspective, but like, how was that being in like West Lafayette around?
It was a little different. Indiana as a whole is different. And I think the cool part about it was like, you get to go to this new place. It's its own bubble. Mm-hmm. And, you with your new friends and you meet new people and all that stuff. And the good thing about Indiana too is that you have all the universities that are like within like a 2-hour drive from Purdue. So I could go to University of Illinois. I can go to I-State. I can go to Ball State. I can go to IUPUI, I could go to Butler, I could go to Bloomington, so Purdue, Calumet, like you literally have all these schools around you. So you get DePaul, you can get a chance to just meet people. And a lot of the schools that I just named, like I'm friends with a lot of people from those schools, just through traveling and going to parties or frat stuff or whatever the case is. But I will say that that's kind of where we kind of came into our own in West Lafayette, and you got a chance to try out different things. That was the first time I would play beer pong. That was the first time I was going to the frat houses. That was the first time, the white frat houses, not the black ones, because black, they ain't had frat houses like that. So, it was the first time I was doing that. And then, going to the bars and like all that stuff. So it just created all of these new experiences in a bubble, essentially. So it was cool, man. We got to do some wild and crazy things that we probably wouldn't get away with in a big city. Okay.
So let's circle back. Why did you choose Purdue versus any other school, being that you was a Chicago? Like you got what is it, IU?
Yeah. So I actually got a full ride scholarship to Alabama A&M, but I didn't want to go there. just because it's Alabama, bro. And I was just like, oh, like living out here and then having not been to the South for real. Like I didn't know nothing about the South. I didn't know nothing about HBCUs or anything like that. So I never even really looked at those just because I just heard. And again, you know, like we came up in the time when like the internet was still developing. So it was just like there wasn't that much information for me to obtain on like HBCUs and like certain schools like that. So for me, my eyes were like dialed into PWIs because I'm like, I ain't trying to go to this HBCU and maybe it ain't like accredited if I want to transfer, or like, will it hinder me from getting a job? Do people know this school or whatever? So I'm like, I'm going to go to one of them names that's irrefutable. Like people know this name. So in quick backstory, I went to Oak Park, right? So Oak Park colors is orange and blue.
So that's west.
That's west suburb. So Oak Park River Forest High School. But the reason why I didn't go to like a University of Illinois is because a lot of people from my school was going there. So it's basically going to be like high school 2.0.
Fair enough.
And it's the same colors. And I was just like, man, I want to go see something different. I want to go do something different. My mom actually bribed me and was like, yo, if you go to University of Illinois at Chicago, I'll buy you a brand new car. That way you can just stay home, you go to school. I was just like,
I don't know. I might have got bought, bro.
Nah, bro. I ain't want to do that.
Nah, I understand. Because when I went to college, there's my high school, there's the highway. Go under the highway, there's a college.
Yep.
Right. And my mom wanted me to go to that school. I didn't even apply. But my mom kicked me out the house for like 2 weeks because we had an argument. And I was like, bro, I'm not going to that school. I don't care what you say. But again, you're only child, right? Yeah. So I get it from the only child. Like they don't want the child to go far.
Nah.
But yeah, nah. I don't think that would have bought me. But I definitely understand wanting to not go to school with your high school classmates and to get away. Exactly.
I just kind of wanted to venture out and meet new people and kind of like start a new, because also that's what I've been used to, right? Like the move from New York to New Jersey was like starting anew. The move from Jersey to Illinois was starting anew. And I was just like, all right, cool. It's time to start anew again. So Indiana was it. But funny story, I actually got into University of Illinois and my letter came and I hid that joint.
Make sure your mom don't watch
this. No, she knows. She knows now. It's because she ended up finding the letter.
Okay.
So I had that joint, and it wasn't until like after I was like first semester in at Purdue when she found the letter. She called me. She was like, "Yo, you got into University of Illinois?" I was like, "Yeah," but I didn't want to go there. She was just like, "Yo, you crazy," but. You know, it was cool. And it's funny too, because at the time, bro, in-state, definitely would have been cheaper. Me going to out-of-state school, the good thing about that school is it's 2 hours away. Like I was literally just there like a few days ago, like on the way up here. But it's like, I ain't home, but like you can get to me if there's an emergency. Like either way, if it's an emergency with me, if it's an emergency at home, like we can get there.
Right.
We can get to each other. So exactly. It's not that bad. So at the time, though, man, my mom didn't know how. My mom and dad, they was like, I don't know how the hell we gonna pay for this, because I think it was like 30 bands a year at the time.
I mean, I think Howard was around this, but it was close. It was expensive as hell.
Yeah, bro. So like, you know, that was a whole situation. So my mom, my dad, I think my mom had like 2 jobs. My dad had like 2 jobs. I want to say they damn near had 3 jobs at a point in time just to kind of to put me through school, bro. And you know, it was rough to watch, but you know, graduated and we here now. So it all worked out. I mean, we had to go through some shit for a little bit, but it all worked out.
And so circling back a little bit, while at Purdue, you majored in engineering, right?
Yeah. So
like, what made you want to do the engineering thing? Like what? Like you said, the internet wasn't a big thing at the time. So like, how did you know like, oh, I want to be an engineer?
All right. So literally, my mom was putting me in like these little like STEM programs and stuff like that, like early on. So I knew I wanted to do something centered around like technology.
Okay.
And then even when I was in Jersey, I used to like build computers. Like I'm talking about from scratch, like motherboard all the way up to like the shell, like everything, installing the OS, like all of that. So I was just like, all right, cool. Maybe I should get into like computer science. But honestly, how I chose my major was like we were sitting down and going through like that whole thing. And I was just like, all right, which one of these can I make the most money in? That literally what I said. I was like, I'm not coming here and we paying all this money for me to go here and I go major in some BS. Like, I ain't about to do that. That's so like, if I'm about to pay some of these loans back, I need to put myself in a position where I'm getting paid enough to be able to at least start pushing that down and still enjoy myself and all of that and be able to like give back to my family if need be. So that's kind of how I selected my major. But I started off in computer science and then did that for about 2.5 years. And one of the classes I took was like I won't really call it an elective, but basically we learned about like supply chain. Mm-hmm. And that intrigued me to no end. I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, if these boxes stop moving, if these ships stop moving, if these trucks stop moving, the whole world gonna shut down. We saw a little bit of that over the pandemic. Yeah. So
it's still there because a little bit of my business, I'm trying to get a new car, tax purposes. Okay. And they talking to me about like, well, we ain't got no cars because of the pandemic and shipping. And I was like, bro, y'all better give me a car.
Yeah, bro. The supply chain is a little bit better now. We can get into that a little bit later, but it was a struggle for a little bit in terms of just like people not getting the right amount of things that they're supposed to get with their vehicles, like features missing, charging ports missing, the automatic lift gate ain't automatic, like all that stuff on a luxury car. Like you just bought a new X5 and you gotta lift that joint. Nah, bro. Yeah. So computer science, and then did that for about 2.5 years. Took the supply chain class. Was really intrigued by that, and then what that turned into was me then exploring other options because I was like, you know what, I'm really not trying to sit down and code all day. Like I like people. I like to get out.
I think that's what most people think about with engineering.
Yeah.
Because even when you told me you was an engineer, but you was like, I work at Walmart when I met you. I was like,
yeah, bro. Supply chain need engineers, bro. Like everything that you interact with from a supply chain standpoint, like the back end platforms, the website, everything needs like front end and back end engineers. So that's what powers the whole thing. You still got the business people and all stuff making those decisions and connections and strategic partnerships and all of that stuff, but you still need something to power to make it run.
Yeah. I told somebody, no matter where you work at now, if your business has an online product or like they cut customer face with like the internet or something, you work for a tech company at this point.
Kinda, but all tech companies ain't created equal.
No, they're not. Definitely not.
I would just say that.
But like a lot of people always, because tech is the buzzword. I want to be in tech. I'm like, I don't know if you want to be in tech. Tech, wishy-washy, bad economies.
It is. But the thing is, man, like it's a lot of people that say they want to work in tech, but in reality, y'all work for a tech company in non-technical roles. And like, let's just call a spade a spade. Yeah. And when y'all getting let go and you on certain teams that are like non-critical, even on the engineering team sometimes they may go, you know what, we're not going to hedge our bets on this particular platform or this particular type of technology. Yeah. And your whole team might get wiped. But I think you put yourself in a better position being in a technical role at a tech company to actually stay. Mm-hmm. And
you got to be in either you're creating the product that generates revenue or you got to generate revenue.
Yep.
I tell that to anybody that's understanding. Like, I'm like, everybody want to be in divs and all these roles that
fun roles
are fun and not so stressful. Mm-hmm. I was like, if you don't make money and you don't create the thing that makes money, you're going to be the first person to get up out of it.
Yep. And that's why, and honestly, bro, like, that's why a lot of black people was disproportionately affected by a lot of these layoffs because they was in non-technical roles.
Yeah, human resources.
Recruiting got hit nasty. Yeah. Like TA, like, so if a company ain't hiring, you ain't doing nothing.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people need to think about that because, like, it's cutthroat right here. And I don't know that it's going to go back to what it was for years. Like,
bro.
I think a lot of people have realized, look, we got to make sure, even if we're extremely profitable, these extra roles, everybody going lean. Like, everybody was on Musk's head, but like, it sucks.
Yeah.
Like from a moral and like a personal standpoint, I felt for those people. From a business perspective,
You get it.
if you are not making me money, what are you doing here?
Yeah, bro. Yeah, no, that's facts. That's facts. And the other thing I would add to that is generative AI and like that whole boom that's going on right now, like with companies like NVIDIA, OpenAI, like all these companies, that's going to flip everything on its head. And a lot of the things that I'm like, a lot of conversations I'm involved in, a lot of things that we're talking about are going to eventually replace some of, people, roles. It's going to change the way we look at things, the way we do things, and it's going to be designed to optimize. And a lot of the reasons why we can't optimize is because people are the bottleneck. And
in the way, or they are costing us money that we can't invest into the product.
Yeah. And then also too, people need to sleep. If you got something that's running 24/7, 365, like you probably gonna hedge your bets on that because that's gonna optimize your business, it's gonna optimize your workforce, and that's basically optimizing the people that are in those critical functions that need to do whatever the things are. So like that's gonna be a whole nother thing.
But I mean that's history though. Like everything is you eventually get rid of too many people, right?
Yeah.
Like I went to the museum down the street and they were talking about how like people used to mine, right? And they showed us how like they eventually could mine a whole like whatever with a machine where that used to take like hundreds of people, right?
Yeah.
It's all about what can I do to be efficient and get the most out of quickly. But like we've been talking about computers and robots replacing us since I was a kid. I remember like stuff like that, like with Terminator or whatever, like be careful of the smart computers and stuff because it's gonna take over. But like if you don't have the forethought of like, hey, I need to have my own business, I need to have my own thing going on outside of this, that like this job is cool, it's stable, but I got something else to do. Yeah. If this gets taken away, or I have a skill set that other people are going to want to hire, then you're gonna be in a position that's disadvantageous.
Here's the thing though. AI is one of those things that you're going to have like the manual labor and like those types of things that people are going to optimize and things like that. But there's also, when you think about like, okay, we creators, right? When you think about the creator economy, you got your thumbnail designers, you got your editors, you have your strategists, you got people that do like brand strategy, people that like help you write your scripts, like people that like do all of these different things. And even in companies, you got people that like do like executive comms and messaging and things like that. And a lot of that is, you can do all of that now with AI. Yeah. Like
I do my editing for like my clips on the AI system, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, that's super interesting. So in that time, right, you graduated from college.
Yep.
Did you start at Walmart or were you was at Amazon or something?
Nah. So it's funny. I think
you worked for a lot of these big companies.
Yeah. I did intentionally. Yeah. But the thing is, so I was one of those people that I was always smart, I would say, and I applied myself. And then when I made the switch over to industrial engineering, started doing a lot more work there. I was working at a hardware store. So that kind of gave me like hands-on experience, like unloading trucks, like seeing the supply chain for what it is at a private company. I didn't have an internship, any internships. Like,
why was it?
Bro, it was competitive.
Yeah.
It was competitive, bro. And even though I had like the 3.0 and all of that stuff, like it was like the interview piece. So I think that was another thing too, where I feel like I wish that I had someone to sit down with me and like spend more time with me on like interview prep and stuff like that. Cause I think that kind of rubbed me out for some of those internships amongst like others that were interviewing as well for those roles.
Okay.
So the thing was, after college, basically I found one job. I went to this one job fair. Like it was basically like the job fair that was like the last ever job fair that you can go to and find a job before you graduate. Okay. It was one of them situations. It was like a last chance situation. Yeah. I was like, man, you know what? I need to just get the experience. But also too, we was coming off of 2008 and like, that whole situation, recession and all that stuff. So what they were doing was management trainee programs. So I was able to get in through one of those, and I was working for JCPenney at the time. But the funny thing about it was I was supposed to go to Connecticut. And then they called me and they were like, we basically not taking on interns. I thought they was calling me to tell me they was about to rescind my offer. I was panicking, bro. I was sweating. I was like, oh, I ain't about to have a job.
Yeah.
But what they was calling me to ask was, you can't go to Connecticut no more. You was one of the interns or management trainees slated to go to Connecticut. Do you want to go to Lenexa, Kansas, Buena Park, California? I ain't never heard of these places. And then they named like a couple other places. And then the last place they went to was Atlanta. I said, fool, you should have led with that one. You should have led with that. So yeah, so I ended up going to Georgia, working for JCPenney, and in there. So I was the inbound manager for their salon and Sephora division, and I was there for like a year and a month. Okay. And then I left because I ended up seeing a role at Amazon. Also, like looking at the company, I was like, y'all not making the transition into e-com, which is where y'all need to be. And you just didn't have a lot of those forward thinkers out there. And I was like, this is a company that's going to get left behind. Yeah. So I made an executive decision to bounce. And
smart, right?
Yeah.
And so you went to Amazon.
Yep. Amazon.
Then Walmart.
Amazon for 2.5 years. And I was in Southern Indiana. And then took a role after that. I was like, okay, cool. Like being in operations, I didn't want to stay in operations like the whole time. I wanted to kind of like jump into different facets of it. And they were trying to put me in a box. So I was like, you know what? They were like, you good at operations, stay in operations. I was like, all right, you know what? I'm a dip. And I went to Walmart, but I went to them under the condition of, I'm going to launch this fulfillment center for you, this new e-commerce fulfillment center for you. Because at the time they didn't really have any. Okay. And they were building a semi-automated one in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And I was like, I will launch this for you. And if I launch this successfully and I do a good job, y'all got to take care of me on the back end and like promote me out of here. Because I ain't trying to live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. No offense.
So you were saying like you was in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania at Walmart, making sure that they didn't like pigeonhole you too.
Yeah, but I led with that in the interview process. Even like when I was going through like negotiation and everything like that, I was like, yo, look, this is what I'm interested in. And this is the only reason why I'm leaving this company. Because I could stay here. I didn't have to leave Amazon at the time. Because like Amazon was like still growing at 40%. And Amazon, they rank you. Okay. And so, whatever your role is, let's say it's 50 of y'all get ranked 1 through 50. And they tell you what your number is. I don't know if they still do that, but they was doing that back in the day when I was there. And usually in a building, the top 10 got promotions. So that would basically lead to some attrition. And if you outside of that top 10, then you're not going to get promoted to like at least the next year. So you basically going to move into the new top 10, which is basically what happened to me. Okay. Folks got promoted and they were like, yo, we can't let you leave, basically. And I was like, nah, I kind of want to leave. Like, I want to, exactly. So I was like, so I actually took an operations role. So I went from being an area manager to an operations manager, an outbound operations manager at Walmart. And that's kind of where I started out. And then I was only in Bethlehem for about 8 months, bro, because coming from Amazon to Walmart, bro, I was so advanced in terms of like what I knew and like what Amazon was doing versus like where Walmart was trying to go. Yeah. So a lot of my uphill battles at Walmart was more so convincing people that have been there 20, 30 years to like think differently and do things differently and like subscribe to like the amount of
where things were going.
Exactly. And that was a little hard too because two things. A, I'm black. Two, I was like 24. 25.
You was a kid.
I was a kid. Yeah. And everybody looked at me as a kid, but I was a smart kid. And it was just like, that was the battle. Right. So, once people were like, and people were like, yo, you don't know nothing. I've been in industry longer than you. I'm like, yeah, but you don't know e-com. I do. So it was that thing of like that battle and that struggle of, it's not necessarily I'm right, you wrong, but it's more of like, okay, we just gonna do this all the time. So let me try to like show you and convince you as to why you should think about things this way, or like at least open your mind up to these other things and ideas and stuff like that. So that was a bit of a challenge, but like once that took, like it took off. And like everybody got better because of it. And it was me and a few other people that came over from Amazon, like my best friend Nate. I ended up calling him up and I was like, yo, bro, come on over. So, we went to Amazon together. We was roommates in college. We went to Amazon together, and that's where he met his wife. Okay. And then we went to Walmart together. Okay. Basically, so me and him was running the show in Bethlehem, pretty much. But yeah, they took care of me after 8 months, and then they were like, "Yo, you trying to move to Arkansas, or you trying to move to the Bay?" You know, I wasn't going to Arkansas. So yeah, man, that's how I ended up in the Bay, and that's where we all met.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was an interesting way how we linked up. Like I would consider you one of my close friends at this point.
Facts.
And you never know how you're gonna meet people, right? And so to see your, like, when we met, we was early 30s, late 20s.
Yeah.
So because I'm 37 now, so it's been 8 years.
Yeah, because my bad. I was 26 when I moved to the Bay.
So it's 7 years. We met 7 years ago.
26, 27? I don't know. Something like that.
We met in 2016. So 7 years ago.
Yeah.
7.5 years ago. And like to see people's journey over that time. Because like I think a lot of people underestimate like that period of your life, like how much transition you go to is like, that's when you first making like your real money. When you start like thinking like an adult. Like I gotta like put stuff away. I need to like start buying property. I need to like get married, right? Wiz is a married man now. If you can see, he got his ring on his finger. Right. But when we met, he was living a different lifestyle. But we always lived in a different lifestyle because it was a great time to be in the Bay. The Bay is not what it was 7 years ago, but like we was traveling, we was doing things. You had money in your pocket, and there was stuff to do. Yeah. Like a lot of people like, oh, the Bay. I was like, I mean, they had stuff for us to do.
Nah, we was
and you could meet some women that were very smart, but also very attractive. So you was like, oh, this works.
Yep.
This works.
Yep. Well, no brokies in the Bay.
Yeah. You know, like, and that shifted my mindset about like the type of spouse I wanted. I wanted someone that was my equal or close to my equal, you know, as far as earning potential, and like, so we could have that dual income, right? So we could build wealth quicker and all that stuff, right? And then pandemic happens, and life kind of shifts for everybody. And that's when around the time you made your transition over to Nike. You were.
Yeah. So it's funny. So just kind of going back to the Walmart thing real quick. So I was at Walmart for about 7 years, and the thing I enjoyed about Walmart was the fact that they really like bought into what I was saying in terms of like them allowing me the autonomy to like explore my career and really take my career into my own hands. I jumped into technical project management. I worked in like customer care for a little bit. I'm doing some projects there. And then I went and talked to a few senior directors to see who would take a chance on me because I wanted to jump in a product. I know Marty was in product, and Marty used to talk to me about it all the time. And I was like, man, I work with product managers all the time. I'm like, I could do that. So, you know, I had to find somebody to take a chance on me. So I found one senior director who took a chance on me, and she was like, all right, I'm going to give you this product team. And the product team was rough. It was rough. I took it over and in a stretch role, and I was doing that for maybe like a few months and started turning things around. But like I said, it was rough. Once the team started producing a lot better and like the morale started going back, not just with like product, but also the engineering team. Cause like it was the whole thing was
communication
was jacked up.
Yeah.
And they were like, yo, we want you to stay in this role. So I ended up staying in the role. So I was a group product manager. So if anybody don't know what a group product manager is, it's a product manager that manages other product managers, but I still own a platform. So was doing that for about 18 months, actually. So basically had the on-the-job experience of being a product manager. And then we had a partnership with Cornell. So I went and did like a course with a product management course with Cornell to like get like the formalized education of being a product manager to like
kind of going back home a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? A little bit. So formalized. So it just basically formalized everything I had learned like on the ground versus like conceptually, like what is product management? What are all these different tools that you can potentially add to your toolkit? And not only did it help me become a better product manager, it also helped me become a better product leader.
Okay.
So, and that part of the story is important because I was only in product management for 18 months. I remember that 18 months. And then Nike came knocking and was like, yo, we got this. Mind you, I'm a group product manager. I'm not a director yet. Nike was like, yo, we got the senior director of product management role, technical product management for fulfillment, which is my wheelhouse. And I was like, senior director? I ain't even made director yet. Like, ain't no way. I was like, ain't no way they're going to take me, bro. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and interview for this role just to get the experience and see what they're talking about. And at least that way I can just take my lumps and then like learn from that. And then eventually it'll set me up for that in the future. Right. Or at least set me up for that director role, right? Long story short, I go through the interview process. My second interview was somebody I used to work with at Walmart. I didn't even know he left. Again, it's a pandemic. You don't see people in the office no more, so you don't know when people leave. People don't update their LinkedIn's. So, and he ended up being my boss, but I ended up getting an offer, and I ended up negotiating that as well. So shout out to Adrian who helped me negotiate my offer with Nike. And yeah, bro. So now I was a senior director at Nike in technical product management. And I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like I'm sitting there like this is crazy. Like I've never heard no story like this.
So you're talking about your coworker that interviewed you and that you ended up getting a job at Nike.
Yeah. So basically what happened was, like I said, they came knocking. The role was much more elevated than I thought that I was ready for at the time. Yeah. And then, and I was like, you know what, why not like get the interview, practice out of it. And then, maybe that'll help set me up for the role when it's that time, but at least let me get the practice out of it. Mm-hmm. And yeah, my second interview was with somebody I knew. Mm-hmm. And so that interview was really good because it was more conversational. And I got a chance to like really learn more about like what's happening, the lay of the land. And then I think it just kind of eased me into the rest of the interview process. It just kind of made it a little bit smoother, honestly. And yeah, so I got the role. My homie Adrian helped me negotiate and everything like that as well. So that's important. So make sure y'all negotiate.
Come on, Adrian that worked at Walmart?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's those relationships. That's why Adrian was at the wedding too. Like, Adrian been in my life I feel like Adrian watched me grow up for the most part in corporate America. Mm-hmm. So like I said, man, make sure y'all negotiate. Don't take what that paper says and just be like, "Ooh, this is good. I'm gonna roll with it." It's a good check. Yeah, it's a good check. Nah. You gonna want to negotiate. Yeah. And really do your research before you negotiate, because you need to know what the going rate for that role is, especially in the market that you live in, right? So I live in the Bay Area, so it's a little different than if I would have lived somewhere else. I can ask a little bit different. So that's an important piece. But yeah, so long story short, got the role and yeah, took off running, man. And, haven't only been in a product management role for 18 months. And then you kind of capped out with some of the 10 years of experience that I've kind of had before that with supply chain and logistics and operations, and just kind of orbiting around the supply chain technology space. That really helped to set me up for that role. So another thing in that is a lot of people have this imposter syndrome and all of that, but all the work that you've been putting in and the repetition and the hours and really honing in on your craft really sets you up for that next thing. And when that time comes, you can't sit back and look at yourself and say like, I don't deserve this, so you can do the impossible or what you think is impossible. You just got to put yourself out there and you just got to try.
I think a lot of times people don't understand, like if you weren't qualified to be there or you shouldn't have that role, you wouldn't have got as far as you got. You know what I'm saying? And exactly. I get it. Like, especially when you don't look like everybody else did, yep. It's tough. Maybe that's why I'm a little naive. Maybe I'm naive in that way. I just be like, I deserve to be here. Y'all hired me. Mm-hmm. So I don't know that I've ever had imposter syndrome. More so like, well, I mean, to be candid, I finessed my way into my first sales role. You know what I'm saying? Not saying I didn't lie by anything, but I might have, like I said, finessed how transferable my skills were into the role that I was taking. But proof is in the pudding 4 years later. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But it's definitely a thing to like navigate and understand, like, but also be an advocate for yourself, right? Yep. Like, and understanding what you can and cannot negotiate, what and that sometimes goes with what role you're in. Because if you're in a role that they don't really care if you come in here or not, your negotiating power is less than it would be if they really need this role filled. But yeah, people just need to understand that like everything is ordained for you to be there. Mm-hmm. And if you interviewed and made it through the process amongst all those candidates, then you deserve to be there.
Absolutely. I think another thing too that I've noticed, and I think with our generation, it's things are starting to look a little different. And I feel like we started to kind of disrupt a little bit in corporate America. And I know Gen Z is like they off the wall with it. Like they
quit.
Whole nother story. they entitled. They be like, man, I want to be a VP today. Like, bro, you just got out of school. You ain't put no time in yet.
You don't even understand organizational.
Don't know nothing about nothing. But it's cool.
Yeah.
We all been there. And I feel like we all thought we could do things that we just didn't know we could do yet.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that if you look at just like our generation, a lot of gatekeeping was happening as well too.
Oh yeah,
where people will block you or try to like suppress you because we were pretty advanced, right? We think differently. We were of the age of technology where we're starting to like look at things differently, interpret things differently, and optimize the way we work and the way we look at things. And a lot of the older generation, no offense, we're just not receptive to that and not receptive to how fast we were growing, how fast we were learning. So they tried to gatekeep us and tried to keep you in that role for like 2 years longer than you should have been in that role instead of like promoting you and things like that. So I think that caused a lot of movement amongst us, just kind of moving other places because people will give you that opportunity that someone in your own company wasn't trying to give you.
Right.
And they're just standing in your way, basically. So I say that to say this. If you realize that you're being suppressed or people trying to like control the narrative of your career is your career and you should control that narrative. You should try things. Mm-hmm. You should be allowed to fail. You should be allowed to do all of these different things. Nobody should dictate to you how you run your career and what that looks like. So you got to run your race at the end of the day. And if that race leads you to another company, go for it.
I'll add to that, understanding feedback though, right? And going to get feedback from the right people. I think where I have excelled in my current company versus my previous company was, yes, I do feel like there was some gatekeeping, some like suppressing me because I was a black guy that spoke his mind and said things, not necessarily always in the best forum, right? But a lot of the things that we ended up doing or changing were things that I was like, hey, that doesn't make sense or that needs to change. Why are we doing things that way? I think understanding, and I think this is for anybody that's in your career, is one, when you come into an organization, finding your mentors, finding the people that will advocate for you when you're not in the room, which are your, executive sponsors, whatever. Let your work speak for itself, right? Like, and don't overextend yourself. I think a lot of times doing the first two things, they seem common sense, but when you are advancing in your career, people will start trying to be on this team and do this extracurricular thing. And if you're not mastering anything, then it looks bad on you because now they're like, then why are you doing this? Right? Like, why are you like, you're not able to give your full effort and full capability because you stretched yourself too far. Right. And I had to learn that. Like I was mentoring people. I was on Tiger teams. I was on this group, and then I'm not doing my work.
Yeah, it's taxing.
And people like, what's up, bro? So I think it's important to definitely have your mentors because they will step in your place when those people are suppressing you. Making sure that your work is on par, right? Don't rest on your laurels ever, but understanding like when to say no, or that I don't have the capacity to do that right now. Even if it's to somebody that you feel like is somebody that is a mentor, like, hey, because I think a lot of times people will respect you more when you say like, hey, I got a lot on my plate right now. I personally can't take that on right now. But I think understanding that, navigating that as a professional will help people get to where they really want to be.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And the last thing I really say about that is the same way that you establish or try to establish healthy boundaries in your life, you got to establish those same healthy boundaries at work. Not to your detriment, obviously, but definitely got to have those boundaries and know when to say no or I can't or, yo, can somebody else do this? Because
I'm a king of if I don't got that, if it ain't, did you book it on my calendar? Like, and I block off time so people can't book time with me. Like, before, if it's before 9 o'clock, it's not going to be on my calendar. If it's on after 4 o'clock, it ain't going to be on my calendar because I block those times off. Once come into work, do what I got to do administratively. But at the end, let me put a bow on the stuff that I need to do for that day. Or like, I got stuff going on, right? Like, I think somebody taught me that coming into LinkedIn was like, hey, take control of your calendar. Don't let people just throw stuff on your calendar. Block off time. Like, I would block off from 11 to 1. That's my lunchtime. That's my me time, like to do whatever else I need to follow up from the beginning of the day. But also like just take a step back from work. I think anybody that work all day and don't like take a break to like just breathe and whatever, you're doing yourself a disservice. That's why people be having high cholesterol, heart attacks, stress, whatever, because bro, them folks will, I hate to say this, and them people will replace you the day you die. Like, so like they replace you the day you die. Like if you leave, they will be okay.
Yo,
if you turn your out of office on and you like just take some time off from work, they still gonna be all right.
Yo, example of that. Exactly what you talking about. Example of that. When I was going to work for one of them companies, I ain't gonna say which one.
I think I know which company you're talking about.
But the original team that's supposed to launch the building, one of the senior operations managers literally just randomly passed away suddenly, like a month before we were supposed to like be in that building and starting operations and doing all of that stuff. And when we were like 2 weeks in, the next person got hired. So I think what they did was they just probably went back down the list like, okay, cool. Who was like the second, the third, and fourth, the silver medalist? Who was the silver medalist in the interview process? And let's kind of just talk to them again and see who we want to grab out of there. And yeah, like I would say within a month, the new dude was in, you know, and, you know, they sent the little email out and that was that. So exactly what you said. They're going to replace you. Easy.
So speaking to that, like having that time off to yourself, pouring into yourself so that you can actually be happy and fulfilled at work. Was it before the pandemic or during the pandemic when you started doing your YouTube channel?
It was actually, I wouldn't really call it the tail end of the pandemic, but I want to say it was more.
I know
like,
you was doing a lot of different things during the pandemic.
Yeah. I feel like we all was, right? We was trying to just keep our minds active. But yeah, I started in 2021. I think June of 2021.
In California, that in the rest of the world, the pandemic probably ended at the end of 2020. In California, the pandemic ended in 2022. For real. Well, not ended, but like they became a little bit more lax.
Yeah, I wouldn't really say they came because you got to think about it. Like we didn't really start doing like offsites or meeting in person until I want to say probably about late 2021. Even then, everybody was masked up.
LinkedIn didn't start letting people come in the office until like 2022.
Yeah, so it was something like that. But yeah, so I started in June of 2021, and that really came from a place of, you know, when you at work, like you just doing work stuff, and like whether it's like a initiative, a program, or whatever it is, like that's what you're working on, and people kind of dictate what you work on and what you do, and you can't necessarily be super creative in that. Yeah. YouTube for me I was like, you know what, being creative and having some sort of creative expression was something that was important to me, especially earlier on. I think the pandemic helped me realize like what things are important to you, what do you enjoy doing, like what provides you with some sense of fulfillment. And I was like, you know what? I sit here and I watch YouTube all the time. I watch these car review videos and see people do it all types of different ways. And I have to watch multiple videos for the same car to get the information I want to get. So I was like, yo, I could do this. Right. And so, yeah, I actually bought a GoPro, and I didn't have no mic. I didn't have like, you know, the little GoPro comes with like the little table stand. Yeah. So, I bought the GoPro because I was like, if I buy the GoPro, this is going to be me getting serious, and like I'll spend some money. So now I'm actually going to do this thing.
They said the best way to get good at something is to do it.
Exactly. So, you know, usually with creating, you stand in your own way. You overthink it. You like, I don't want to put myself out there like that. And you just kind of have all of these thoughts. But I actually had a BMW X4 at the time, and it was getting serviced. And I had a loaner, so I had like a 2021 or 2022 3 Series, and I was like, you know what? Today is the day. I was like, this is gonna be the first car review. So I pulled up at some random spot. Like I said, I didn't have like everything I needed to record, but I literally there was like a little grass mound that was across from the car, so I just literally stuck the GoPro right there and stood around the car, and I just started yelling, bro. And that was the first video. And after I got done, I was like, yo, this is terrible. But that video ended up like eventually getting like 20,000 views. And I was like, oh, okay, like this is cool. Like kind of gave me a little bit of confidence to just keep going. But just overall content creating and starting a YouTube channel, like you get a chance to really express yourself, and you really get a chance to have a blank canvas. So that's the thing I really appreciated about it.
Yeah, I think in my experience, like you might have kind of inspired me a little bit. I know a lot of times when I started this podcast, some of it was like, I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. But a lot of people had told me to start a podcast or like do something because, you know, I'm very opinionated.
Yeah, you be saying some outlandish shit.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think like to your point, like when I first started, I was on my computer, and then people were like, oh, your camera, like your video kind of whatever, right? And I did that first episode with everybody here, and that was a lesson learned and not to do. And then getting mics, right? At first I have different mics now, but I had the one mic where it was big and long and it was doing a lot. So I was like, well, I need to buy these tables so I can have the tables with the mic. So for audio purposes, because my editor kept saying, well, your audio quality is off, right? Because you got to position the mic right. You got to have the right mic. It got to be close enough to you. You can't be having one mic for two people. But then even like the editing process, right? Like I was trying to edit by myself. I was like, yeah, this is taking way too long for me to edit this by myself. You know what I'm saying? And it's not great. So like I can just outsource this. But I think it's rewarding because then you start seeing your development, and then people start engaging with your content, and they like, oh, people actually like it. They deal with it. They're supporting. Because I think a lot of times people want support from their friends, but they're not consistent. And it's not always going to be your friends. It might not be your friend's cup of tea, right? Like I know what I'm putting out there. Not that it's not for everybody, but like everybody doesn't need it because they already have some of these resources. Some of the stuff I put out, like with the TOTS episodes, it's a little offensive to people because they're sensitive, and I understand people have their sensitivities, and it's not a situation where I'm like trying to hurt anybody, but this is just like stuff that's on my mind that I need to get off in some type of form that's not like me being an a-hole to somebody.
I feel that, and people gonna be sensitive, right? People gonna take offense to anything, any and everything that you do, right? Everybody got like an affinity to something that they really care passionately about, that they're gonna thump on the internet and jump in the comments. But I like what you said about going through like and trying to figure out like the editing process and like what mic you needed and like just the setup that's gonna work for you. And I feel like that's a process that continually evolves. And you know,
my next mic's gonna be the lapel ones.
Oh yeah. Honestly, look, the Rode ain't sponsoring me, but like honestly, the DJI and the Rode Wireless Go mics, those mics are fire. Like your audio is gonna be crispy with those. And they work well indoor and outdoor. So those are the mics I use when I shoot outdoor. But also another thing you said was just like the audio quality, like the video quality not being that great, going through the editing process. Like I've done all of these things. And the thing is, when you first start a YouTube channel, you're not going to be great. Like you're going to suck. And you got to embrace the suck. And like when you embrace that suck and you like, all right, cool. Like I done did 5 videos. They all look a little trash.
They got 5 views.
You know, they got 5 views, 1 view, no views.
Yep.
You know, your subscribers ain't up there. It's cool. Like everybody started somewhere. All of these big YouTubers that you saw or that you see now that's like getting millions and millions of views, like they all started somewhere. I know like one person that people know is Mr. Beast. And like, that's a name that comes up. Mm-hmm. And for a long time, he was creating content. I think maybe like few years, like 4 years, 5 years, where he didn't even have like 1,000 subscribers, wasn't getting no views like that. But in that time, he got a chance to do that repetition. And also too, you got to get through like your first 100 videos. I'm still not even at 100 yet, but I feel like once you get through your first like 100 videos, you start to build that muscle and start to really figure out like what your process is, mm-hmm. what equipment you need, how to do your editing. Because my editing wasn't that great. I did it myself. My logo was something I made in Canva. But like, I outsource stuff, right? I got an editor. I got a couple editors. I got a thumbnail person. And that's another thing. Your thumbnail, oof. If your thumbnail ain't on point, honestly, if you're going to make a YouTube channel and you want to put out good content, still put out quality content. But if that quality content is behind a trash thumbnail, ain't nobody finna watch your video.
I don't think a lot of people understand. So like thumbnail is like a screenshot of a part of your segment.
Yeah, it's like a preview, pretty much like a preview of what the video is gonna speak to or what the video is gonna entail.
And YouTube will do it for you, but those don't always be great either.
Nah.
And I know that from my own experience. I don't have a thumbnail person, so I just go with whatever YouTube suggests at the time.
Nah, man, you need, honestly, like whether it's shorts or whether it's your long form, you're gonna need something that's good enough to stop people from scrolling. Or one of the metrics in YouTube Studio is CTR, in which I wouldn't go by that as a hard metric, but if you look at your CTR and your CTR is like click-through rate is like 1%, that means that of the people that YouTube showed that video to, they didn't click on your video because maybe the thumbnail just didn't grab them. It didn't grab their attention. It didn't make them inquisitive enough to want to click on that and see what was behind it. Mm-hmm. So they do a good job with the video previews and stuff now. But even then, if your joint not hot, like they just gonna scroll past that joint. They're not even gonna see the preview. So the thumbnail is really important. I think that before you even come up with an idea or a concept of whatever it is that you're gonna create, I feel it's very important to figure out what thumbnail, how you're going to create that thumbnail, what concept you're trying to go for, and then create the video behind it. And then the titling, of course, also plays a factor in all of that as well.
Yeah, I know some people will do thumbnail, like they'll do a bunch of shots mm-hmm. for their thumbnails. Like they'll do some with a hat, do some without a hat, mm-hmm. do some with a different shirt, mm-hmm. doing a different pose, whatever. Because I did the podcast summit. Like I know you just did the summit in Dallas.
Yeah, Vid Summit.
I did the podcast summit that David Shan started in Miami, and I learned a lot of interesting things at that summit from people that are doing it and are monetizing and all those things. But I think a lot of the stuff was just like I hate to say this, some of the stuff is common sense. But yeah, I think a lot of times people just got to understand. Just do it. Figure out what you don't mm-hmm. like. You're gonna get feedback.
Yeah.
And then you'd be like, okay, let me fix that.
Yeah. I think the other thing too that really helped me out. So when I first started creating, I wouldn't say a support system, but I didn't have like a community, right? Of someone I could talk to that's actually also going through the same thing and like figuring it out as well. So I ended up, this when Clubhouse was hot. I was like, yo, I don't got nobody to really talk to about it. And, you talk to your friends and you talk to like your wife or whatever, they're going to give you constructive criticism, but I feel like it's only going to go so far. So you want people that kind of that are in that world, that kind of have, that experience to understand it, to be able to say like, no, this actually is trash, or this is good, or do more of this, or do less of that, or try that, So what I used to do is I would go into these forums. And I think it was her name was JJ Garrett, and I forget the other lady's name that was in there. But it would be them two, and it would be a couple other people, like probably somebody that works at YouTube, and they would rate your YouTube channel and basically do like a channel review. They would like, they would bring you up on stage, and they'll basically like, yep, your thumbnails is trash. This is like this video. Yeah, I mean, it's not really like an eat you up. It's really constructive criticism, but it's some good stuff that you experience. It is. And you can basically like take that back and kind of use that to optimize. But that's kind of the feedback that I was getting at first. And through that, I met my boy Kedrick, who's a tech reviewer on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And he was looking for somebody to collab on a video, and I ended up jumping on it. And since then, like me and him have like a really good friendship. And even now, like with my thumbnails or video ideas or whatever, I can hit him up and we can talk through stuff. I can call him, he can call me. And he's seen my channel. When he met me, I had 33 subscribers and I knew 30 of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it was one of those situations. Yeah. So, you know, he got like 15,000 subscribers now. Like I'm at like 3,500 or whatever it is. But you know, the growth is happening, and now I have a community. So it's not just him. I've gone to Vid Summit in LA last year. I met more people. So like I got literally people I can call at a whim and be like, yo, what you think about this? Or yo, I watched this one video and I think you should do more of this or less of that. So like it's just, I had that community now. So it's just, that's paramount, honestly.
With all that, like what's the goal? Like what's the goal with your channel?
2 goals, right? So as I mentioned before, I used to watch a lot of these car review videos and I don't feel like there was no one-stop shop for all the information I was personally looking for. Mm-hmm. So my goal with the channel is to not only educate, but also entertain and empower. And what I mean by that is, well, the empowerment piece is that you should have enough information after watching one of my reviews to be able to confidently go to a car dealership and talk to a salesman or really pick out what car you want or ask about certain features or capabilities that car has, and even possibly negotiate your pricing based on that. So, you know, I really want to do that for anyone that watches my videos. So like if you're never had a car before, have a car enthusiast, or someone that's just kind of like shopping around in the market and just kind of want to learn about these different cars without feeling those pressures of going to the dealership and having somebody try to like sell you something and get you out the door with something. Mine is like a low risk situation where you can go, you can get some entertainment, get some knowledge, and then feel empowered to make a decision, whatever that decision may be, whether it's purchase or a test drive when you get to that dealership. But on the back end of that, YouTube is one of those places where I never thought that there's YouTube as like a content creator. You just want to create content. You want to be an artist, right? And then there's YouTube as a business where I feel like once my channel got monetized, that's when I started looking at it as a business. So now it's like, okay, how can I grow this business? How can I scale this business? And yeah, you can make money off YouTube ad revenue. That's cool. But like there's also 7 streams of income within YouTube. So, you know, there's merch, which is an obvious one, and apparel and all that stuff. So, you know, that's an avenue that I want to embark on. There's brand deals. So, you know, brands have already started reaching out to say, hey, review this product for me and, you know, I'll pay you or I'll give you an affiliate link. And that's kind of for you to kind of negotiate until you get to like that big brand deal that supports you. And then, you know, there's a few other avenues as well that you can explore. So I think that for me, it's just how do I grow this entity? How do I scale it and have fun while doing so? So that's probably the biggest thing for me right now. But when you start looking at your YouTube channel as a business, you start to make much different decisions. Everything's more strategic. Everything's more intentional. And you gamble. You're still going to gamble, but it's going to be like a high risk, high reward situation when you start looking at it like that.
Last one, and we'll wrap up here. Like, if you could go back in time and talk to Lil Wiz.
Oh, man.
Lil Wiz, right? Lil Wiz that still has a Jamaican accent.
Oh, man.
What would you say, or what would you tell him?
Honestly, I would tell Lil Wiz that no matter what's going on, like these external factors and people that doubt you or try to put you in a box, like it's just noise. Don't listen to it at all. Like stay true to yourself, be brave, be bold, dare to be different, and being different is not a bad thing. I think when I first came to this country, I got teased a lot and, you know, bullied and stuff like that. But as you get older now, you kind of realize like what happened. They probably didn't have like good household situations and stuff like that. But I think a lot of that helped kind of shape the way I moved and how I kind of like changed things about myself that I probably shouldn't have changed. And I think that going back, I wouldn't have changed none of those things. And I would have just stayed true to who I was. And it was kind of more me trying to assimilate than trying to like stay the course and be who I was. So I think that's the biggest thing I'll probably tell myself is it's noise, don't listen to it. And as a kid, you don't know. But I think that would be the biggest thing I told myself.
Yeah, I think a lot of us come to that revelation later, right? Like, I think a lot of time, like me being very outspoken and saying whatever was on my mind was a defense mechanism, right? Because people would pick at the kid named Hubert wearing glasses that was chubby and smart in the gifted classes. So I was like, well, I'm tired of people saying stuff to me, so I'm going to have something to say back, right? And that turns into a part of you that isn't so great. It no longer becomes that defense mechanism. It becomes you being a bully, right? Or just like other things that where you like just don't feel comfortable doing things that or talking about things that are just normal things to be a kid, right? Like growing up and finding out that there were so many other black kids that watch anime, like, or like love movies, or that, you know, even something like getting a massage.
Yeah.
Like everything when we were growing up in our era was, that's gay. Don't do that.
That's a fact.
Like,
that's a fact.
I'm like, bro, I like getting massaged. I like getting rubbed on.
That's
like,
a fact.
My body feel better. You know what I'm saying? And I think it is great advice to just be like, unless it is serving you and helping you be a better person, ignore it. Because no matter what you do, no matter how you move, right, wrong, or indifferent, somebody's going to have an opinion.
Somebody's going to have something to say.
And that opinion, and I'm like, if you aren't important to me or you not paying me, your opinion is worth zero. Like absolutely nothing. Because when I'm a great person, somebody got something to say. When I'm a bad person, somebody got something to say. So I might as well just be comfortable with myself and do make the decisions that I'm comfortable with and move forward with. So yeah. Well, bro, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you for taking time with me. So you guys, as always, I wish you peace, patience, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, discernment, health, strength, and resolve. I tell you to be your best self because everybody's already taken. So till next time, y'all be easy or don't. Every choice has a consequence. Every action has a reaction.